Well, good morning, everyone. It's good to be with you today. This is Dr. Sheri Keffer. I know it's morning. Can you believe it? And I wanted you to know I have something for you today. I went, one of my little self-care things that I do just to take care of me, and I think this is really a good thing, is I go and I buy fresh flowers. Well, guess what? Today, I got you some flowers. Aren't they amazing? I knew you needed a pick me up, and I looked around and I found these amazing flowers and I thought, I just wanted you to have them. So here's my hug from you. I know we've been doing a lot of work together. We've been talking a lot about betrayal and trust, but I just want you to know I care about you deeply and I care about your families, and I just send some of my love your way. So we are jumping in today, continuing to jump in, and we are talking about trust and how we not only lose trust in them, but we lose trust in ourselves. We lose trust in our own gut. So we're going to be looking today about how that happens and then what you can do to begin to repair your gut instincts. Let me go down here to my information for you. So, betrayal. How to trust your gut when he's lied again. Again, I'm Dr. Sheri Keffer, and I just want to say how much I appreciate you all just following me, asking me questions. You guys have been so interactive. And this talk is just really looking at our gut. But this week, just 2 days ago, I did a talk called He's Cheated. Can I Ever Trust Again? And I've had so many of you banter back and forth with me. We had an amazing time of questions being asked afterwards. And I just love your vulnerability. One of you said in the chat, we're like, I have learned so much just in the question and answer time. And it's true. It's because you get to put yourself in somebody else's shoes, and our shoes are very similar. So I'm going to be talking today out of my book, Intimate Deception, Healing the Wound of Sexual Betrayal. Some of this material has been out of chapter 5, which is It's a Crying Shame. Because trust is a very important thing. And I broke this talk down into 2 parts. I knew there was too much to just share in one talk. So I went, all right. The first part, which I did on Wednesday, is can I trust others? And the second part is today is can I trust myself again? But before I start, I just want to let you all know that I am a doctor of marriage and family therapy. I've been practicing for over 22 years. I'm a certified partner trauma therapist and I'm a supervisor. I'm also a certified sex addiction therapist. So I have just this ability now to work with both sides of the spectrum. And I understand what it's like for those that sexually act out. And I've been able to get inside of that and help them heal, as well as working with betrayed partners. And it's helped me to see both sides. I'm also a consultant in EMDR, which is a form of trauma treatment for post-traumatic stress. And we're going to be talking about that today. So I just wanted to let you know that. I'm the founder of the retreat, Bravery After Betrayal. It takes fear as strength. I've got one coming up in November. So if you're interested in that, just go to my website, braveone.com. You can find out it's still open and filling up, probably fill up very, very soon. And there's a free download, as I love to do for you at the end. So we're going to put it in the chat section. This is a download that has to do with repairing your trust in yourself. So you won't want to miss this one. This is a public format. So I just want you to know that. I do have a private community, my Brave One community, but this is public. So I'm going to do a Q&A at the end and answer as many questions as I can get to, and just use your first name. So if you don't want me to do that, either be anonymous or just private message me on Facebook, and I'll have my team bring your question to me. My Brave One workshop is coming up. It's next week. It's called Sexual Betrayal. You have the right to say enough is enough. And newsflash, 4 days left. That's it. You guys have 4 days left to sign up, and I don't want you to miss it. It's private, and you need a special pass to get in because it's private. I'm going to be sharing some things with you that I've spent the last 4 years thinking about, working on, building and testing and trying. And there are proven solutions, practical solutions that can really help you get traction and change things that are happening right now in your relationship and and all the sexual acting out that's going on. I'm going to be talking about that. So again, you need a special link. If you go to that page, if you can just go to braveone.com/join workshop. You've got to have that link to get in. It's braveone, BRAVEONE.com/ the words join, JOIN WORKSHOP. Now, if you're listening to me live, great, you can do it. If you're watching me later on my Dr. Sheri Keffer YouTube channel, love to have you join as well. You can just fill out that. And once you sign up, I'll send you an email of confirmation saying that you're in. And then you'll also get another free gift from me when you sign up. Again, sexual betrayal, you have the right to say enough is enough. It's going to be next Wednesday, October 5th. So save the date. I'm doing 2 that day, 1 at noon and 1 at 7 p.m. just because people are doing different things and they have schedules that, can be accommodated. Also, you can come to one or come to both because there's a Q&A and so much is learned during the Q&A time. Feel free to come to both of them. Again, it's going to be private. You can't even get into this one. So you do need that special pass. So let's jump in for today is betrayal, how to trust your gut when he's lied again. And since I've been doing my Facebook lives right out here and answering your questions on trust, and is it ever possible to trust again? It's probably the most important topic that I talk about because we have been hurt and we want to know when they're trustworthy. And next week at my workshop, I'm going to be giving you the 8 signs of what you want to see, the 8 things you want to look for to know that they're really working, to see signs of safety. And I'm going to be unveiling that at that talk. But today we're going to look at how you can rebuild your gut, your instincts, your intuition. And I'll tell you something. Going through this with Connor, there were 2 beliefs that seriously hogtied me when I had been impacted by betrayal trauma. And they were these 2 beliefs. I can't trust anyone, and I can't trust my own judgment. I can't trust myself. So when you believe that you can't trust anyone and you can't trust your own judgment, your own gut, yourself, guess what? You don't really go out a whole lot. You become very small in your world. And it's important that we get back into truth of who we are and who we can trust so that we have the ability to find life again. And I'm going to be explaining why. I'm going to be talking about the brain today because this stuff makes a lot of sense when you understand what's going on. But on Wednesday, if you'll remember, and if you haven't watched that talk, please do. It's a good one. But I talked about the 3 biggies when it comes to trust. Okay. Trust requires 2 people, like both partners have to be open, vulnerable, and transparent, willing. Number 2 is 2 people in the relationship, right? They got to count on each other. Trust is 2 people having each other's back, right? You're going to be there and I'm going to be there. And the 3rd thing was trust means that we mean what we say and we say what we mean. Trust happens when our words actually match our behaviors. And as we know, with sexual acting out, their behaviors don't match their words often. And I say, trust their behaviors, not what they're saying. Trust is the foundation. It's the cornerstone of a healthy relationship. And this includes a relationship that you're having with yourself, right? So, how does that relationship that you're having with yourself get compromised? How does it break? So, let me share with you some actual answers and questions and the results that came up in my research. 90% of us said this: my partner denied his or her involvement with pornographic or sexual behaviors until I caught him or her. They denied it until they were caught. 90% of us said this: my partner would look at me straight in the face and deny he or she was viewing pornography or sexually acting out. I know. I've had it happen to me. I've had it happen in my office with a husband and wives, and they will just bullface look at you and say, no, that's ridiculous. That's not happening. Right. So it's not uncommon. 73% of us said my partner claimed to have stopped sexually acting out, but later I discovered that he or she hadn't stopped at all. 67% said my partner tells me I am crazy when I question him or her about a lie he or she has told me. That's high. 67%. That's the majority of us, more than half. And then 79% of us said, even when I have evidence regarding my partner's sexual behaviors, you've got something that you found, he or she still lies to me. I mean, this is like showing them, hey, I found this. I don't know where you got that. I don't know where you're talking about. That belongs to our son. I mean, it's just, I've heard so many different lies right in that moment that you're showing them something. 91% of us said, if my partner disclosed his or her sexual behaviors, he or she would only tell me half the story. Very common. So why is it that our trust in relationship is so deeply impacted by betrayal trauma? Well, it's because of those reasons. We can come right up to them and ask them or have evidence, and they lie. And that's why our trust is compromised. Betrayal trauma is actually the act of being unfaithful in some way to your spouse, your significant other, when there's actually been a commitment for exclusivity, when there's fidelity. You guys have made a commitment with each other. We wouldn't work at rebuilding trust, and we can't until they're also willing to do that. Now, Connor and I couldn't work at rebuilding trust until he started getting honest about his sobriety. But you know what happened? He didn't think that he had that bad of a problem. That's what he would tell me. I don't need to go to SA group because it's not that bad. The other people in the group, he would share stuff. But the longer that Connor looked at porn and sexually acted out with others, the more disconnected we became. You can't be in relationship with someone and be sexually acting out at the same time and not have it cause a breach in connection. So again, he attended a few SA meetings, but never followed through. And so each time Connor would sexually act out again, I felt like I went all the way back to square one. When we experience that betrayal trauma, it's not that our relationship suffers only, it's our self-esteem, it's our kiddos, it's our finances. Just talked to somebody recently, and there was $150,000 spent on sexual acting out. Our sexuality is impacted. Our physical and emotional health is impacted. Our spiritual life and faith goes off the rails, right? Either we move away from that faith that we had, or we move closer to our faith, depending, but whatever it was before the betrayal, something changes. And even our very dignity, right? The very dignity of who we are. But definitely our ability to trust is damaged. And we can't trust our partner to be faithful, right? Because they're acting out. And so it's hard to trust anything else they say or do. We begin to question everything. But I think the worst part is when we begin to lose our ability to trust ourselves. We, in the midst of sexual betrayal, are fearful. We feel unloved, insignificant, like we don't matter. We definitely feel like we're not enough. We isolate because of the shame. And of course, feel insecure. Many of us, and it makes sense, we're mad, we're angry. And so often we feel small, less than. It's like our GPS inside of us has been misguided. Like we're impacted by the trail, and it's like our GPS starts going recalculating, and we start going down this road we weren't going on before, and we have these wrong evaluations of ourself. We begin to look at ourselves in a different way because of the compromised safety and because of the sexual acts. So that's why when we have thoughts after betrayal, they sound something like this. I can't trust my own judgment, right? I can't trust myself. Like, how do I actually know what I am seeing is true? And truly, the brain that we have, for good reason, is the most selfish organ in our body. Its number one job is to save us. That's it. Our brain, sometimes we think our heart is the most important, and all of our organs are important, but our brain is committed to save us at any price. So what does it do? When we have a trauma event, that trauma gets stored in our part of our brain called the amygdala. The amygdala, I kind of look at it like a refrigerator in our brain that stores painful events that happen to us, kind of like you store leftovers in little Tupperware containers, right? And those little Tupperware containers of pain end up getting the experience in there, and then the emotions and the feelings in there. And then also there's like a label that gets put on that Tupperware container, and it gets put on a shelf in the amygdala in the refrigerator. Trauma is both thoughtfully and emotionally stored. And so these negative beliefs about ourselves, the brain does that. It doesn't wire in just negative beliefs about that person. It wants to guarantee your survival. So what does it do? It wires in a negative belief about yourself. Sounds like this: I'm worthless. I'm not enough. I can't trust anyone. I should have done something. I'm not in control. Like there's a whole laundry list of negative beliefs that get labeled on that Tupperware container. So what do you think happens to your Tupperware containers of trauma events in your amygdala refrigerator if you leave them in there too long? The top comes off, right? It burps off, it stinks. They're not meant to stay in there, right? I love succulents, and I have a bunch of them in my backyard and my front yard. And when friends come over, I often, the flowers that I get at Trader Joe's, usually I get a little pot that comes with it. And so I'll repot some of my succulents. I'll trim some of them off and give them to my friends because I just love sharing succulents. They're amazing. Well, I was out working in my succulent area one day, and I noticed this gorgeous green leafy fern that had been a part of this succulent pot. And I'd just been watering it each week. And all of a sudden I saw the thing grow, and then it started like getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I noticed that my succulents were like not doing so well. They got thin and they just weren't as many. And I thought, what is going on? Well, I tried to pull that green leafy plant out, and at least a part of it I couldn't. That thing was like cemented in there. And so I got my gloves. There was like thorns on this green leafy plant eating herbivore. I was like, what's going on? So I thought, okay, this is a problem. I don't like this. This doesn't feel good. So what did I do? Any person who loves her succulents, I decided to go get a hammer and I cracked the pot open. What did I find? That plant, it's called asparagus fern. You can look it up. It took over the pot. And when I was in high school, I saw this very scary movie called The Invasion of the Body Snatchers. If you're not into scary movies, don't go watch it. I wouldn't watch it again. It freaked me out. But basically, it makes me think of that movie because these pods, there's pods, got into the pot and began to choke out these beautiful little succulents that had been growing happily. Well, that's what happens with the negative beliefs in our brain. Those ones that are in the Tupperware containers that get stored in there, they too choke out the truth of who you are. It's crazy. And because trauma memories are stored thoughtfully and emotionally, they're often resistant to change. Like, I might look at you and say, when you say, well, I'm not enough, he betrayed me, or he's looking at porn, and I could say, well, you are enough. And it's like water on a duck's back. You would look at me and go, right? That's what we do. The negative belief, the truth just kind of falls off like, water on a duck's back. So whatever fires together wires together. And that's when I often use eye movement desensitization and reprocessing to do some deeper trauma work at some point in that partner's journey. Usually I do it further down the treatment because they're already kind of painfully unraveled when they come in to see me, right? You guys it's like a moving target. And so the first thing we do, we've got to work on getting you safe and getting you empowered. And we have to stop the craziness and start working on truth telling and all of the steps that are a part of what needs to happen when sexual acting out is in your midst. But at some point, I use this EMDR. And it's interesting. EMDR was developed, eye movement desensitization and processing, using something called REM. It's rapid eye movement. It's the same thing that kind of happens when people are sleeping, where they're trying to process the memories or things that happened. I mean, I've even seen my dog, my dog I had that would sleep and his little eyes would twitch or his paws would twitch. Well, that's the body's way, the brain's way of trying to process whatever happened that day or, recently that you're upset about. EMDR uses REM in order to unfreeze these traumatic memories and allow you to feel and resolve the pain of what happened by getting your truth back on. So, the reason that we struggle so much with all of this is when someone is cheating, they use lying and keeping secrets and they distort the truth. They justify what they're doing or defend themselves. They're deflecting and blaming. I did a talk on the 7 deadly spins, right? If you haven't seen it, just go back and look for it. I did it a couple weeks ago, but in there I talk about gaslighting, which is a term. I'm going to be talking just a minute about it because I talk more about it during then. But for the purpose of this talk today, gaslighting is considered psychological abuse. Now, why? First off, the term gaslighting comes from this 1944 MGM movie called Gaslight, and it featured Ingrid Bergman, who her name was Paula in the movie, and she was a vulnerable young singer. And Charles Boyer, who in the movie, his name is Gregory, and Gregory was a very charismatic, mysterious older man. Well, bottom line, Gregory deceived Paula by marrying her in order to get his hands on some expensive jewels that had been in her family for a long, long time. Now, his plan was to marry her, put her into an insane asylum to gain full reign of their home. And the purpose of this, so that he could find those coveted jewels. And so he was up in the attic looking for the jewels and the lights were flickering on and off. He came down and she asked him about it. And, he turned it on her. She said, like, did you see the lights flickering? And, he said, I'm not sure what you're talking about. You haven't been well lately. Okay. That spin right there made it about her, even though he was over here doing something else. But that caused her psychological abuse. She started to question herself. In the movie, her moment of clarity, this aha moment, came when she noticed an undercover police inspector, and he had seen the same thing go on, and he saw the lights dim, and she was like, yes, I'm not crazy, right? So gaslighting occurs when somebody strategically twists the truth to make you think you're crazy or something's wrong with you. Now that erodes your gut. It erodes your instinct. It erodes your identity. And they do this in order to cover up the sexual acting out. Whatever deceptive behavior they're doing, that's why they do it. And so with betrayal, when we're intuiting something, when we're picking up on something and our gut is firing, or just have this uh-oh feeling, we feel it in our gut, but when we've been told nothing's going on or something's wrong with you, in that very moment, it's like a millisecond. You are forced to either trust your gut, that uh-oh feeling, or trust the one you're with. And it's very confusing when you're told you're crazy. I don't know what you're talking about, or it's always something with you. Or seriously, you need help. I don't know why you keep asking me about this, right? They might even tell you that you're overreacting and you need to calm down. I know that one sends most of us to the moon and back, right? It's when they just tell us we're making a big deal out of everything or we need to get over it. Like, I think you've gotten your facts wrong. You always make stuff up in your head. Have you heard some of those statements? That's gaslighting. And it's psychological abuse, because what happens is we stop looking at what the truth may be and what's really going on, and we start believing that something is wrong with us. Seriously, we take the bait. We take the bait. We feel like we're crazy. We feel enraged. We stop trusting our intuition and our gut. I mean, doesn't this make sense? Again, it puts us in this really difficult place. We're either going to trust our gut or we're going to trust our spouse or significant other. You have to make a decision. There's no Switzerland here, right? So that causes us to question our own memory, and we're confused over what is really going on. It's harmful. We get exasperated. We're fatigued. We throw up our hands. We end up letting go of our power to the one who's gaslighting us, and we stay in the crazy zone. And then once we learn what gaslighting is and how to get out of that deep rabbit hole, and once we learn how to stand in our own truth, we get to put our feet back on solid ground. So guess what? I want you to know something. One of the ways you can get your gut back is by realizing that nobody has control over your mind. What you see, you can say to yourself and hold on to yourself. You don't have to believe what they're doing. You don't have to believe what they're telling you. And as we start being faithful to ourselves, we work on getting our gut back, and we can even become stronger. Now, you might be saying, okay, Sheri, did you just say I can become stronger? Yes. Right? So feel free to ask some questions. I want to be able to answer some of the stuff at the end of the talk, but there's just a ton to consider here, because truly what I'm saying is it's possible to turn crazy around. But who does it start with? The one who's gaslighting us? No, it starts with the only thing that you can change. You. That's it. And reclaiming trust in yourself while staying connected to others that help us feel safe, right? It's how we get connected with that wiser part of us. And we begin to trust other people that are seeing the crazy too. And it helps us become less tolerant of the abuse. Because no matter what happens in that relationship, the truth of it is when you start seeing this stuff is going on, you can take your truth and your sanity back. We don't have to stay on the crazy train. Recently, I did a Facebook Live on sexual betrayal and how to get the truth from a liar. And I talked about Ronald Reagan, right? And how he did this truth. He had this proverb. It was a Russian proverb, which means trust but verify. Now, he used this phrase to emphasize what they were doing in terms of drawing up a treaty. And this is what he said. He described it as an extensive verification procedure that would enable both sides to monitor compliance with the treaty or the agreement. Okay, I'm going to say that again because it's so important. It's okay for us to have an extensive verification procedure that enables both parties to feel that there is compliance and to monitor that because of our agreement. Well, isn't fidelity an agreement? Isn't it important to figure out what extensive verification procedure is going to help you feel good in your gut about what's going on? So trust is a treaty. And truth is a treaty. And some of you may not want to enter into this process of trusting and having truth finding for a lot of different reasons. But, and I know I'm talking to some of you now and going, I'm kind of scared to know what's going on. I'm kind of scared to find out. I go, I know, I get it. It's totally up to you. But aren't you scared right now? Aren't you scared in the not knowing? Aren't you having a hard time sleeping at night? Isn't your body more anxious? It's there. And so when we begin to go to them as a treaty and we let them know, hey, I need, because you're coming in this idea of, I need some things here to help me verify what is true, right? Trust but verify. And they might push back. They might say, well, that sounds like an invasion of privacy, or you're being too controlling, or that's a ridiculous idea, or you can just trust me. I won't do it anymore. But this is what you can say. This is going to help you trust your gut and use your voice to begin to advocate for what you need. You can say something like, I'm hearing you. And I'm sure that what I'm asking for is feeling invasive. Yet because you've been looking at porn, or because you've sexually acted out with others, or because you've been talking to that woman at work, I need to feel safe. And this is going to help me trust, but then also verify what's true. I'm asking for transparency as a way of beginning to restore trust. So that is kind of the language. You don't have to say it just like me, but I just wanted to give you an idea of how to ask for what you need in order to verify your gut instincts. And so then they say, well, what do you mean? Like, what are you looking for? Or we just say, so in order to do that, right, I would like to have password access to your cell phones or phones. And I want to be able to see the billing statements. I want to be able to have access to email accounts and credit cards and bank statements when I ask. I want to be able to have my name on these, or, you want to be able to see what is going on. And then this is the secret sauce. When we ask for that, right? And you're probably going to get pushback. Normally we do, but I want you to know this is where we grow stronger. And I want to help you grow stronger, is when we get to watch how they respond to the clear request for transparency. We watch them take steps that are needed or not. And those steps help us either to get clarity on what they're not willing to do, or it helps you see that they're doing some things that are going to give you assurance. And as they do those things to give you assurance, to help you feel safe, those are the reasons that we end up staying in relationships, because they're not hiding and getting angry. They're like, okay, here, you feel free to look at it. I mean, I know I've really hurt you. And this stuff, can often need the support of clinicians that really are about helping truth be restored in order to help them figure out it's okay to show it to her. She's been hurt, right? And it's okay that she's asking for it. There's a breach of trust, but consistency over time and these baby steps are what helps to rebuild trust. And when they follow through at protecting us and protecting themselves and their sobriety, then we're going to be willing to maybe take some baby steps, right? But again, it comes through transparency, in devices, text, phones, social media, bank accounts. That helps us feel safe about their whereabouts. And those that are open to doing a therapeutic full disclosure. I know this Wednesday, a couple of you said, yeah, they're not open. Like, you're getting knowledge and you're starting to get power in an empowered sort of way, because now you're asking for things, but then they're like, I don't want to do it. Okay, well, I understand. That may be a flag that there's some stuff that they don't want you to know about. Most likely it is, but that doesn't mean we stop there, right? That's where we can learn how to apply boundaries that protect ourselves. But their willingness to find a therapist that specializes in this, or willingness to do a polygraph if you want to. When you begin to see that they mean what they say and they say what they mean, and they're in an SA recovery group and they're listening to your hurt instead of blaming you. I want to just end with this. Would you just be kind and patient with yourself? I want you to think about a time. I want you to remember a time when you actually could trust your judgment. I want you to think back. When did that change? Because at some point you actually trusted your judgment in something. And so it can take weeks, months, and even longer for you to get your footing again after a long season of deception. And then once you regain trust in yourself and you see the spin, right, whatever's going on, your confidence can be restored. Even though somebody is behaving badly over here, you can still have confidence and trust what you're seeing. That's part of how you rebuild your gut. We don't have to wait for their behavior to change for us to start getting wiser and smarter and trusting ourselves again. But again, ask yourself the question, have you ever been able to make a good judgment in any area of your life? Maybe write it down. Think about it. What is it? Maybe you had to make a decision at your job or a place of business. Maybe you made a good judgment when your friend needed some help. Maybe when you named your child, right? You named your kids. That took some judgment in deciding where they're going to go to school. Like, now it's getting really personal. So guess what? You've had to make some judgments about that, right? If you need new tires on your car, right? Of course, we've all made good judgments. And you've been making good judgments long before the sexual betrayal. It's the sexual betrayal that causes things to go sideways. So when you're trying to get your mind straight and your gut back, keep records. If you think you're being lied to, keep a log of what you've discovered, what you've heard, what you've observed. But make sure that you do it in a place where no one's going to find it, not your kids, not your significant other. And as you're doing your own work, your counseling, your therapy, keep your notes and stuff confidential. You don't have to get information like this and go right to the person if they're gaslighting you on a regular basis. They may even be using this kind of stuff to hurt you, right? So be wise. It's okay for you to have some space to grow in, to look at stuff, to figure things out. And also just protect your family from finding this stuff as you're sorting through it. This way, when you have that information, you actually can look back and become grounded because you begin to see the patterns. And it's not about control. It's about staying sane, right? Your sanity is important to you. Stay connected. one or two people in your life that you trust, who love you, who know you well. And these people can help you through times when it gets very confusing. I mean, their wise counsel is worth their weight in gold, right? And since lying is a big part of sexual betrayal, finding a sexual betrayal recovery group, where you can be seen, heard, validated, where you don't have to try to explain things. People just go, no, I get it, is a big part of your recovery. My Brave One community is a place like that, where people are seen and validated and they get stronger. Be kind to yourself. Realize there's moments that you're scared, right? The porn, the infidelity, and the sex addiction, porn addiction, it's taken a toll on you and it's huge. And there's things that have been taken away from us. And I know that we want 100% guarantee that they're not going to act out again. They're not going to hurt us again. And that makes sense. We know it's not totally possible in a deep part of us, but we want it anyway. But what we do want more than anything is safety. We need to have safety, and we need to be able to trust our gut when we know and feel like something's going on. We need to be able to go to them and ask. It's really about securing safety in yourself and protecting your family, rebuilding trust in yourself, and then also figuring out if they're trustworthy, and consistency over time will help. I want to be one of those supportive people for you. I want to help you. I'm not afraid of getting down into the dark muck of all of this, right? And so let me do that. If you found today's talk helpful and you're looking for some more support, I've got more. I've got an abundance of things for you. I have a free download right now if you want. It's called Learning to Trust Yourself Again. And so if you go to braveone.com/trust, love that word, trust, braveone.com/trust. We'll put it in the chat section there. Or if you're watching on YouTube, feel free to get it as well. Loved you to get it. It's my free gift for being here today. It's really something you can start using right now to help repair your trust. And again, I'm going to be talking about many, many things this next Wednesday, but among them are going to be the 8 things that you want to look for. And then I have a ton of other stuff that I'm going to be bringing forward for you. I have my workshop. It's Sexual Betrayal. You have the right to say enough is enough. I'm going to be talking about how to do that, but you only have 4 more days to sign up. I know this is my last live event right now before we go private next Wednesday. So don't wait, just sign up. It's not going to be out there. I'm not going to post it on YouTube, right? And it comes just because I care about you. I'm thinking about you. I spent years trying to figure out what you need. What are those practical steps that can really fortify you? And so I want to give you a link to get in. You just need to go to braveone.com/join workshop, braveone.com/JOINWORKSHOP. Fill out the little information there and you'll get something that says you're invited. If you're watching me on YouTube, I want to have you as well, right? However you're watching me, but you'll get an email that says you're in, and another special gift just for signing up. But again, it's next Wednesday, October 8th. Save the date. I'm doing it twice, 12 noon and 7 p.m. You can come once or you can come both times because I'm doing a lot, Q&A, but I want to stress that it's private. Nobody can get in without this pass. It's not public. And I love that because you can bring your real questions in this format. And it's just such a good time and a place to be honest and learn and see what's available to you. So it's been great to be with you today. I care deeply about you. I hope you'll enjoy my gift of flowers for you today and know that you're loved, thought about, cared for, and I want to be here for you. So I will look forward to seeing you on Wednesday of next week at either 12 noon and 7. So in the meantime, take care of yourself and I'll look forward to talking to you soon.